The world of basketball is no stranger to intense rivalries and passionate emotions. Still, when a rising star like Caitlyn Clark, known for her sharpshooting and record-breaking performances, is named to the All-WNBA First Team and crowned Rookie of the Year, it can shake up the entire landscape of the sport. Chennedy Carter, a young WNBA player known for her fiery personality and competitive edge, made headlines for all the wrong reasons when she reacted in a rather explosive manner to Clark's achievements. This article will dive deep into the background of both players, the significance of the accolades, and the fallout from Carter's tantrum.
By the way, speaking of basketball, Caitlyn Clark now has the rookie record, the history of the WNBA.
Caitlyn Clark's journey from a standout high school player to one of the most talked about rookies in WNBA history has been nothing short of spectacular. Born in Des Moines, Iowa, Clark has been breaking records and turning heads from an early age. Known for her incredible shooting range, vision on the court, and ability to control the pace of the game, she quickly became a top recruit for the University of Iowa.
Clark working on Van Loo. Oh, Clark, pretty step back, hits a three!
At Iowa, Clark's performances were consistently remarkable. During her college career, she racked up accolades such as the Nancy Lieberman Award for the nation's best point guard and multiple All-American honors. She was lauded not only for her scoring ability, but also for her leadership and basketball IQ, often leading her team to victory with her clutch performances.
Lineup I'm talking about with Caitlyn Samuelson at the 4.
Clark.
Upon entering the WNBA, Caitlyn Clark was immediately on the radar as a potential Rookie of the Year candidate. Her game translated seamlessly to the professional level, where she continued to amaze with her offensive prowess. Clark's ability to shoot from deep, combined with her playmaking and fearlessness on the court, made her an instant star. Her rookie season saw her setting records, making her a strong contender for Rookie of the Year, a prediction that many pundits and fans alike shared.
Clark gets away with a little push, fall away, buries it, and a little reaction.
On the other side of the story is Chennedy Carter, a player who had a promising rise in the WNBA. Carter, drafted 4th overall by the Atlanta Dream in 2020, quickly established herself as a dynamic scorer and playmaker. Her aggressive style of play and confidence in taking big shots earned her respect within the league. She was a standout player in college at Texas A&M, where she was known for her clutch performances and was a 3-time All-American.
Great job of coming up with that loose ball and converting. 6 seconds to go, opening quarter. Chennedy Carter, crossover to the rim.
However, Carter's time in the WNBA has been marked by both brilliance and controversy. While her talent is undeniable, she has also faced criticism for her attitude on and off the court. There have been reports of clashes with teammates and coaching staff, which have sometimes overshadowed her performances. Her competitive nature, while a strength on the court, has also led to some difficult situations, particularly when things don't go her way.
A little bit.
Yeah.
After
I ain't answering no Caitlyn Clark questions.
did she say anything to you?
I don't know what she said.
What'd you say to her?
I didn't say anything.
That's enough. We're good.
Carter, like many in the league, likely saw herself as a contender for Rookie of the Year when she entered the WNBA. With her impressive resume, it's easy to understand why she might have felt entitled to such recognition. However, when Caitlyn Clark began dominating headlines and ultimately took home the award, Carter's reaction was far from gracious.
Here at Wintrust. Leads back up to double figures. How about Carter? Leaving everyone in her dust.
The WNBA Rookie of the Year award is one of the most prestigious honors a young player can earn. It signifies not only individual success, but also a promising future in the league. Caitlyn Clark's selection for this award, along with being named to the All-WNBA First Team, was a testament to her impact in her first season. Her shooting, court vision, and leadership were all factors in her earning these honors.
You're seeing Caitlyn Clark. And for everybody who talked about, she's just a shooter, she's already set the all-time rookie.
The announcement of Clark's accolades was met with widespread approval from fans, coaches, and players alike. Her stats backed up the decision. She averaged over 20 points per game and had several standout performances, including game-winning shots and record-setting moments. Clark was not just a scorer, but a leader on the floor, making her an obvious choice for these accolades. While most players in the WNBA were quick to congratulate Caitlyn Clark for her achievements, Chennedy Carter's response was quite the opposite. As the news broke, Carter took to social media, posting cryptic messages and expressing clear frustration. It didn't take long for fans and analysts to realize that her posts were directed at Clark's accolades.
After this controversial foul on Caitlyn Clark.
Unnecessary.
Clark's Indiana Fever taking on the Chicago Sky on Saturday. The Sky's Chennedy Carter hitting a shot, then heading over to Clark and shoulder checking her. The refs called it a common foul, but the league yesterday upgraded the call to a flagrant foul.
Carter's tantrum wasn't just confined to social media, though. According to reports from inside the locker room, Carter expressed her anger to teammates and coaches, questioning why she wasn't the one being recognized. Her competitive nature, which had served her well on the court, seemed to boil over into a display of entitlement and frustration. This outburst reportedly created tension within her team, and some players were said to have been uncomfortable with the way Carter handled the situation. In the age of social media, Carter's reaction quickly went viral, with fans weighing in on both sides. Some sympathized with Carter, understanding her frustration as a young player trying to establish herself in a competitive league. Others, however, criticized her for not showing sportsmanship and for failing to celebrate another player's success.
Between the last game and today is our growth. We went to film today, we locked in, we seen the good things we did, we also seen the mistakes we made, and we're just trying to grow.
Carter's outburst did not go unnoticed by the WNBA or by the basketball community at large. Many fans and analysts criticized her behavior, calling it unprofessional and unsportsmanlike. While it's common for athletes to feel disappointed when they miss out on awards or recognition, Carter's public display of frustration was seen as crossing a line. On social media, fans debated the situation. Some defended Carter, arguing that her passion for the game and competitive drive were what made her a great player. They suggested that her reaction, while perhaps not ideal, was understandable given the stakes. Others, however, felt that Carter needed to learn how to handle such disappointments with more grace and maturity.
Counted! What a move, Kennedy Carter!
The WNBA itself did not officially comment on Carter's behavior, but it was clear that the league was closely monitoring the situation. Carter's team, the Atlanta Dream, was also reportedly concerned about the impact her outburst could have on team chemistry moving forward. Carter's reaction to Caitlyn Clark's accolades brings up a broader discussion about the pressures faced by young stars in the WNBA. The league is highly competitive, and for players like Carter, who are seen as the future of the league, the expectations can be overwhelming. Every player wants to be recognized for their contributions, and when that recognition doesn't come, it can lead to frustration and disappointment.
For my teammates, and if I want to be that, and I know I'll go down in history, I'll look back in 20 years and be like, yeah, the reason why we watching women's basketball is not just because of one person, it's because of me.
The WNBA is also a league where players are constantly compared to one another, and the media plays a significant role in shaping public perception. In this case, Carter may have felt overshadowed by the attention and praise Clark was receiving, which likely contributed to her reaction. It's a reminder that while these athletes may be stars on the court, they are also human and deal with the same emotions and insecurities as anyone else.
Good to get my feet wet, to be back in the WNBA. I think that Saturday I'm going to play with more energy, more tempo, and I'm for sure going to.
While Chennedy Carter was making headlines for her outburst, Caitlyn Clark remained focused on her game. When asked about Carter's reaction during an interview, Clark handled the situation with poise and maturity. She expressed her gratitude for the recognition she received and made it clear that she respected all of her peers in the WNBA. Clark's response earned her even more admiration from fans and analysts. Her ability to rise above the drama and remain focused on her goals further solidified her status as one of the league's brightest young stars. For Clark, the accolades were a validation of her hard work, but they didn't define her. Her goal was always to help her team win and to continue growing as a player.
Nice. Boy, Enrique gave it to McCowan, who couldn't finish behind the back of...
In the wake of her outburst, Chennedy Carter faces a critical moment in her career. While her talent is undeniable, her behavior has raised questions about her maturity and ability to handle the pressures of professional basketball. Moving forward, Carter will need to focus on improving not only her game, but also her attitude and professionalism. There is no doubt that Carter has the potential to be one of the best players in the WNBA, but she will need to channel her competitive drive in a way that benefits both herself and her team. Learning how to deal with disappointment and how to celebrate the success of others are important lessons for any athlete, and Carter has the opportunity to grow from this experience.
Muscles are way up, the and one.
Carter's reaction also illuminates the way women's sports are covered in the media. While male athletes often receive praise for their passion and competitiveness, female athletes are sometimes criticized more harshly for similar behavior. This double standard can make it even more difficult for players like Carter to navigate the pressures of professional sports. It's important to recognize that the media plays a role in shaping the narrative around these players, and that the narrative can sometimes be unfair or overly critical. While Carter's reaction may not have been ideal, it's worth considering how much of the public backlash was influenced by the way her story was covered.
Just respond, calm down, let your play do the talking. It is what it is. It's a physical game. Go make the free throw and then execute on offense.
Caitlyn Clark's achievements as the WNBA's Rookie of the Year and her place on the All-WNBA First Team are well-deserved accolades that highlight her immense talent and hard work. Her success, however, sparked a dramatic reaction from Chennedy Carter, whose public display of frustration garnered widespread attention.
Clark over Horston, hits a three!
While Carter's outburst may have been a misstep, it also serves as a reminder of the intense pressure faced by young athletes in the WNBA. As both Clark and Carter continue their careers, the lessons learned from this. In the end, both players are part of the next generation of WNBA stars, and their stories will continue to captivate fans and inspire the next wave of athletes. The Women's National Basketball Association, WNBA, has produced a slew of outstanding players throughout the years, but two stand out in recent memory: Caitlyn Clark and Kelsey Mitchell. Their paths, although different, have often crossed, with each making substantial contributions to women's basketball and the sport's general development. Clark and Mitchell have captivated fans with their on-court talent, and the history they have created together represents the WNBA's developing environment.
Wins all of last season. They're already at 10. Look at the tie last year's winning record.
Clark from way downtown.
Caitlyn Clark, a brilliant college basketball player, was making headlines even before she joined the WNBA. Her remarkable ascent has catapulted her into talks with the game's luminaries. Kelsey Mitchell, on the other side, has quickly established herself as one of the WNBA's top scorers after being drafted in 2018. These two players symbolize the league's present and future, and their journeys tell a unique story of grit, ability, and dedication.
Lyn Dunn, the famous general manager of the Indiana Fever, has had enough. She is a seasoned veteran of the game who has seen both the highs and lows of professional basketball. But what she's seeing today has pushed her to the edge, leading her to speak out with genuine conviction. What triggered the event? None other than the unrelenting and some say deadly roughness that Caitlyn Clark has faced on the court. This isn't just another day in the WNBA. It's a crisis in the making, and Dunn is prepared to act.
Amazing. It's amazing. I cannot believe that many people are here just for the draft party. It's such an exciting moment. We're thrilled to select with the first pick Caitlyn Clark.
But what's really going on here? Is this simply another chapter in the WNBA's illustrious history? Or is something more important emerging before our eyes? Let's go into the facts, unpack the difficulties, and find out why Lyn Dunn, one of the most respected personalities in women's basketball, is suddenly demanding quick action. Lyn Dunn's interest extends beyond basketball to the fundamental fabric of the game. Dunn's perspective is unique as the Indiana Fever's general manager. She's seen the league's evolution throughout the years, including the growth of players, the intensity of rivalries, and the rising fan base. But what she sees today is different, and it troubles her terribly.
You're changing it, you're helping us change it, so seriously, from the bottom of my heart, from all of us, we thank you so much, and I just feel really grateful to be here.
Dunn is especially concerned with Caitlyn Clark's supporters' conduct and the more violent techniques employed against her on the court. It's one thing to play rough. Basketball, after all, is a contact sport. But when does toughness become dangerous? That is the question Dunn is asking, and it has sparked a passionate discussion within the WNBA community. Caitlyn Clark, with her evident skill and compelling charisma, has emerged as the league's lightning rod. Her supporters are fervent, her opponents are tenacious, tenacious, and the result is a level of ferocity that is making headlines throughout the sport. Dunn is frustrated not just with the physical play, but also with how the game is developing, or maybe devolving, in reaction to the demands that come with Clark's ascension.
From the logo,
Caitlyn Clark's influence in the WNBA cannot be emphasized enough. She's more than simply another player, she's a sensation. Clark is creating waves on the floor, turning heads, and pushing opponents to reconsider their strategy. He averages 16.3 points, 6 assists, and 4.9 rebounds per game, but what's occurring off the field is absolutely astounding. Clark's presence has directly contributed to an increase in WNBA attendance and fan engagement. In Los Angeles, 19,033 people have come to witness her performance. In Washington, the attendance was even higher. 20,333 people packed the arena to see Caitlyn Clark perform. These metrics are more than just numbers. They reflect the WNBA's burgeoning popularity, which is propelled in large part by Clark's spectacular performances.
I'm very grateful starting and playing in front of absolutely no one during COVID, and then obviously my sophomore year we had good crowds, the curtains were down a lot of the games, and now...
However, all of this prosperity has brought along a new set of obstacles. As Clark continues to dominate, she becomes a target. The brutality aimed against her is rising, and it's more than simply difficult defense. It's about survival. Opponents are pushing the envelope, testing the limits, and in some instances, crossing the line. That's where the real issue is. The WNBA has always distinguished itself by its physicality. However, there is a distinction between playing hard and dirty, and that line is getting more blurred. Caitlyn Clark is at the heart of this argument, since she encounters physical obstacles on the court that some feel exceed what is appropriate in competitive play.
Seattle, and all of a sudden, we're pretty close. This has been as close as it's been all second quarter long, 44.
Remember when Clark was hip-checked by Chennedy Carter, or when she clashed with Angel Reese? These aren't isolated events. They're part of a wider trend that's forming throughout the league. Clark has spoken out about the treatment she is undergoing, stating, "I feel like I'm getting hammered." For a player of her level to raise such worries is significant. It indicates that something has to change. The roughness thrown toward Clark is more than simply strong defense. It's about delivering a message, but what's the message? Is Clark too good, oppressive, or threatening? Or is it something more sinister, referring to larger flaws inside the league? These are the questions posed by fans, players, coaches, and experts alike.
Caitlyn Clark.
As the physicality goes up, so too does the discussion. Where do we distinguish between competitive play and harmful behavior? What constitutes appropriate on-court behavior, and when does it become excessive? These are the problems that are now front of mind in the WNBA, and Lyn Dunn is determined to solve them. Caitlyn Clark's handling of the court has elicited different reactions. On one side, some supporters are upset, believing that Clark is being unjustly targeted and that the brutality she is experiencing is not simply part of the game, but a purposeful effort to bring her down. These supporters are loud, passionate, and demanding change.
An accidental collision with Caitlyn Clark. You see it right there. Personnel crowds around her. She ended up being okay. She said she was fine. She just got the wind knocked out of her a little bit.
On the other hand, others contend that this is just basketball. It's a rigorous sport, and if you want to be the greatest, you must be able to manage the physical demands. For some followers, Clark's situation is merely part of the game, a necessary hurdle that she must face if she wants to compete at the greatest level. But it's not only the fans who are split. The league itself is debating how to react. WNBA Commissioner Cathy Engelbert recognized the problem, saying, "I believe everyone is watching Caitlyn, so their emphasis is solely on Caitlyn. But when compared to other games with additional players, it is a physical game." Engelbert's remarks underline the bigger context. The WNBA is a rough league, and Caitlyn Clark isn't the only one dealing with these issues.
Yeah, I mean, her first month in W, obviously, aside from the numbers, the viewership, the attendance, the way that she plays the game, you know, she's ultra competitive. Her ability to really stretch the floor and find her teammates. Obviously, there is a learning curve. And
however, Engelbert's words pose serious considerations. Is Clark's physicality merely a facet of the game, or is there more to it? Is the league doing enough to safeguard its players, particularly its superstars? What message is being sent to the next generation of players and fans? These are the concerns that are rising to the forefront as the discussion around Caitlyn Clark and the physicality of the WNBA heats up. So what precisely does Lyn Dunn propose? Dunn's strong words make it plain that she is unwilling to sit back and watch while the game she loves is imperiled. She is asking for quick action, urging the league to intervene and address the problem of physicality before it is too late.
About 20 seconds, maybe 15.
Why that long?
I don't know. I just think made me pause. You know, the league. You gotta follow the directions.
Dunn isn't just speaking out, she's taking action. She allegedly submitted game videos to the league headquarters, underlining the risky play that she feels is endangering players like Caitlyn Clark. Dunn's commitment is palpable. She's not just talking the talk, she's living the walk, leading by example for everyone participating in the game. But what fueled Lyn Dunn's ardent determination? Why is she so adamant about cleaning up the game, safeguarding the athletes, and maintaining the WNBA's integrity? The answer is rooted in her profound passion for the game, dedication to the league, and conviction that basketball can and should be better. Dunn's call to action applies to the whole league, not just one player or club. She's making a strong message about the significance of safeguarding star players, establishing a high standard for the whole WNBA, and keeping the game fair and safe for everyone on the field.
One of our biggest wins of the season so far was our first win at Phoenix. I think that really kind of boosted us into how we're playing basketball right now.
As the WNBA expands and evolves, physicality will remain a major concern. The league is at a crossroads, and the choices made over the next several months and years will significantly influence its future. If the league can find a way to combine toughness and safety, protecting its players while maintaining the game's purity, it has the potential to reach new heights. The WNBA has the potential to serve as a model for other sports leagues, demonstrating that it is feasible to play intense competitive basketball without jeopardizing player safety.
Left to go. How important was it for this group to come out after the break and get the win?
Yeah, it's huge. I think it sets the tone of where we want to be the rest of the season. So to grind this one out and get it done, I think is just a step in the right direction. But it's one at a time, and we have another big one Sunday.
However, if the league fails to handle the problem, the ramifications might be severe. Players might continue to get injured, the game's quality could deteriorate, and spectators could lose faith. The WNBA risks losing its momentum and its status as one of the most entertaining and dynamic sports leagues in the world. The WNBA's future is in the balance, and choices taken now will define the league for years to come. It is a watershed moment in the league's history, and players, fans, and the media will all be paying careful attention. To summarize, Lyn Dunn's call to action is about more than simply Caitlyn Clark. It is about the future of the WNBA. The league is at a watershed moment as it deals with the problem of physicality and its influence on the game.
Yeah, I think just when I can get going early, that's when I really settle into the game and feel comfortable. And I think my third quarter wasn't great, but yeah, I think there's times where we would have crumbled, but we just kept battling and fighting, and I thought it was a really good win for us.
Dunn's drive to safeguard the players, maintain the league's integrity, and guarantee that the WNBA stays fair and safe reflects her passion for the sport. She is not just speaking out, she is also acting, setting an example for everyone participating in the game. The fight about Caitlyn Clark and the WNBA has not ended, and it will continue to define the league's future. However, one thing is certain, the WNBA is a league worth fighting for, and it can achieve unprecedented heights.
Outside these 12, but know that Caitlyn is going to have a bright future with USA Basketball, and I think, you know, the points that she made, she's even more motivated, more hungry, and just knowing that her time is going to come.
As fans, players, and the media continue to weigh in on this topic, the WNBA's future will be molded by the choices made today. It is a watershed event in the league's history with long-term implications for the game. So where are we going from here? The solution is up to the league, the players, and the fans. It is up to all of us to keep the WNBA a league we can be proud of, one that is tough, competitive, and fair. And with leaders like Lyn Dunn at the forefront, there's little question the WNBA is in capable hands.
The WNBA has long been a hotbed of competitive skill, with several players putting their all on the floor. However, when a player like Caitlyn Clark emerges, the whole league's atmosphere shifts. Clark is a generational talent who has redefined what it means to be dominant in women's basketball. Her overwhelming talent and ability to smash records have made her a fan favorite, but she has also elicited hatred and jealousy from other players and analysts.
Here's Clark, nice find, Agumake push shot, banks in, make it 8 assists for Caitlyn Clark.
Caitlyn Clark's recent promotion to MVP rank has sparked outrage among the WNBA. This wasn't just any triumph. It was a watershed event that made the league take notice. However, her success sparked an outpouring of criticism, especially from those who couldn't tolerate her domination. This pushback from both athletes and media figures highlights the difficulties that often follow sporting success. It also begs the issue of why certain individuals are unable to cope with the ascent of a very exceptional athlete.
Caitlyn Clark-Kent, superwoman. You see what I did there? She was on a tear, and last night was no different. Wings, fever. Caitlyn Clark set to go as she broke the single-season assist record Friday against the Aces.
In this video, we'll examine the drama that followed Caitlyn Clark's MVP win, including comments from other players, media characters, and the WNBA fandom as a whole. We'll also examine how Clark's ascension has upended the league's relationships and sparked outrage among her opponents. Caitlyn Clark did not become a WNBA superstar overnight. Her path to becoming one of the league's finest players was marked by years of hard work, devotion, and record-breaking performances. Her collegiate basketball career, when she captained the Iowa Hawkeyes, was defined by amazing exploits that distinguished her from her colleagues. Clark's deadly shooting range, basketball IQ, and exceptional playmaking talents made her a force to be reckoned with.
In average game attendance and per game TV viewership. But despite the attendance and viewership records, there seems to be some haterade in the league in regards to Clark, starting with WNBA legend Cheryl Swoops herself. She recently spoke on her podcast, Queens of the Court, and didn't mention the rookie when speaking of Indiana's rise in the standings.
After joining the WNBA, she quickly became a household name. Her first few games in the league were a spectacle of high-scoring, triple-double performances that had fans and observers alike excited about her potential. However, as Clark's status grew, so did the number of players and commentators who were less pleased about her achievement. The more she succeeded on the court, the more resentment among some players became apparent. Despite the rising tensions surrounding her, Caitlyn stayed concentrated on her game. She broke records, racked up remarkable numbers, and led her team to victory. By the time the WNBA MVP campaign began, Clark was clearly one of the front runners.
Look at this quote here. I think the Olympic break really helped Indiana. I'm going to shout out to Lexi Hull. I'm a big Lexi Hull fan. Lexi Hull shot the leather off the ball in their game against Seattle. Kelsey Mitchell is just stroking. She's just shooting the basketball. Aaliyah Boston, almost a triple-double. If Indiana continues to play the way they're playing like this, they too are going to move up in the standings, end quote. So no, Caitlyn Clark. Cheryl Swoops.
When Caitlyn Clark was named the WNBA's MVP, it seemed like a watershed moment for the league. Her triumph was well-deserved, considering her contributions to the game and leadership on the court. Statistically, she exceeded many of her colleagues, guiding her squad to one of its greatest seasons. Her ability to score, assist, and create chances for her teammates elevated her to a league of her own. However, the MVP award wasn't without debate. Some players and observers felt that other athletes were more deserved, citing senior players who had been in the league longer or had more experience. Clark's quick ascension and achievement were seen as excessive and premature. For some, the fact that a younger player had surpassed seasoned veterans appeared like an unjust disturbance in the league's hierarchy.
I'm looking at her the way I look at LeBron James, right? For us, just in the women's side of things, and the height that she had, the expectations she had to live up to, packing out arenas on a day-to-day basis. A lot of people out there waiting to see her fail, and still keeping her composure as a rookie and leading this team has been a beautiful thing to see.
This response was more than simply a dispute over the MVP award. It was the result of rising displeasure with Clark's domination. Her propensity to capture the attention with her dazzling moves and high-scoring games left several veterans feeling marginalized and underappreciated. Several players expressed their dissatisfaction with Clark's MVP victory, both publicly and privately. Some were subtle, casting a shadow in interviews and social media postings, while others were more outspoken in their dislike for her success.
Cheryl Swoops. No, Caitlyn Clark. Respectfully, Cheryl Swoops, you have any idea how that makes you look? You have any idea how that serves to stain any kind of critique of Caitlyn Clark, because that gives fodder to those who believe she's being hated on and ostracized to some degree? Do you realize that, Cheryl Swoops, you're insane to do that? Let me tell you why you're insane to do that. Because Cheryl Swoops, you're one of the greatest players ever in the history of basketball. That's why. See, you won a championship in college at Texas Tech. You won 3 Olympic gold medals. You won 4 WNBA championships. You know basketball.
Some veterans in particular seemed hesitant to accept Clark's new standing as the league's best player. These athletes, who had spent years working towards their accomplishments, felt let down by Clark's quick climb to the top. The MVP race, which they thought should have been theirs to win, had been stolen by a player who was just beginning her career. Clark's victory seemed like a disturbance to the natural order, a passing of the torch that came much too soon. This increasing anger wasn't limited to the locker rooms. On the court, Clark became the subject of more aggressive play. Hard fouls, taunting, and other unsportsmanlike behavior increased as some players sought to knock her down a peg. It became evident that some of her colleagues couldn't take her success and were prepared to go to extreme measures to undermine her game.
On the debut episode, co-host Maya Reese, who is Angel's cousin, asked her to address her feelings about rival Indiana Fever's Caitlyn Clark and the Fever's fan base. Take a look at what Angel Reese had to say about that. Quote, Caitlyn Clark fans, the Iowa fans, now the Indiana fans, I think there's a lot of racism when it comes to it, and I don't believe she stands on any of that. But when it comes to death threats, like, I'm talking about people who have come down to my address, following me home. Multiple occasions, people have made AI pictures of me naked, literally. They've sent it to my family members. It sucks to see that, and it's really hard that I have to go through that.
Clark's MVP award was hardly the only cause of contention. In the media, numerous analysts questioned whether Clark genuinely deserved the title. Some have even argued that her success was exaggerated because of her marketability and popularity among fans, rather than her real performance on the court. This story, however, disregarded the facts. Clark's MVP victory was supported by indisputable numbers and performances that speak for themselves. However, the media's obsession with pulling her down seemed to match the views of her opponents in the league. Resentment over a young player, breaking through obstacles that had held others at the top for so long.
Real deal. Listen, I believed in her from day one. You knew that she would only get better and better. She's averaging 17.8 points this season, 41% shooting, 33% from three-point range, leading the league in assists. Her last 5 games, Shannon, 22.5 points per game on 46% shooting, 11.4 assists per game. They've won 4 of their last 5, and now the Indiana Fever are 7th place overall and in playoff positioning. Caitlyn Clark is real. She's coming, and I still contend she should have been on Team USA, Shannon. You saw the attendance for Team USA compared to everybody else. If she was on that team, that wouldn't have been a problem. I stand by my position from day one. She's real.
Rather than recognizing Clark's apparent brilliance, these commentators attempted to downplay her achievements by doubting the authenticity of her victory. They bought into the premise that she was being propped up because of her popularity, despite the fact that she dominated the league. In today's digital era, no big sports dispute is complete without the accompanying social media frenzy. Fans, players, and commentators all flocked to Twitter and Instagram to express their thoughts on Clark's MVP award. Some hailed her efforts, describing her as a light of hope for the WNBA's future. Others, however, joined the chorus of opponents who said that her victory was unjustified.
Well, all the people that Stephen A. Oh, she don't do this. She not gonna do that. Let her cook. It got so bad yesterday, the Seattle Storm, they pulled their starters so she couldn't get that double-digit assist record 3 consecutive games with at least 20 points and 10 or more assists. They pulled their starters, and then Skylar Diggins, Fake Smith, her last name, she bumped into her, sped up. Let her cook. But if I'm Caitlyn Clark, I'd have told Skylar Diggins, get your coat, your brim, and get on out of my gym. Let her cook.
The social media environment immediately became a war, with Clark's admirers protecting her against a never-ending barrage of attacks from detractors. Hashtags and memes increased, with some making fun of the envious players and pundits, while others adopted a more serious tone, highlighting Clark's harsh treatment. However, social media also gave a venue for the most divisive aspects of the argument. Clark's detractors, both inside and outside the league, exploited these venues to promote disparaging stories about her climb to MVP. Some even launched personal assaults, criticizing everything from her beauty to her demeanor. The resentment over her victory seemed to escalate out of hand, becoming less about basketball and more about tearing down a young star who was challenging the existing quo.
Just in the women's side of things, and the height that she had, the expectations she had to live up to, packing out arenas on a day-to-day basis. A lot of people out there waiting to see her fail, and still keeping her composure as a rookie and leading this team has been a beautiful thing to see.
Caitlyn Clark's MVP award sparked more than just criticism. It sent shockwaves across the WNBA. For the first time in years, the league saw a player who not only dominated on the court, but also became the subject of a heated and divisive discussion. While the spotlight surrounding Clark likely attracted more eyes to the WNBA, it also highlighted some of the league's underlying concerns. The anger and hostility against Clark reflected a bigger issue of rivalry and some veterans' unwillingness to accept the ascent of a new star. This dynamic threatened to sever connections inside clubs and throughout the league as a whole.
I want to know what y'all saying now, because she is legit. She's better, Stephen A. She's better than I thought she would soon. I thought she would be good. You and I both said she's going to be good because she got two skill sets. She can score the basketball and she can assist the basketball. So if one is not going, the other one will. But a lot of people say, oh, this and that. Let her cook. Y'all stop being petty. Stop being catty, because she like a double-edged sword. She cutting tail left and right, and it's bothering y'all, and I see it. Let's go, Caitlyn. Hey, do me a favor, CC. Send your favorite uncle a jersey with your autograph on it, and I'll wear it.
On the other side, Clark's dominance and the response she received sparked debate about the future of the WNBA. Many fans and commentators said that the league needed athletes like Clark to draw more spectators and take the sport to new heights. They said that the emphasis should be on recognizing Clark's skill rather than tearing her down out of jealousy.
Bebish hounding Clark. Clark, step back three, knocks it down! Take a look here at a career first.
Just step back, going right, I may add. It's usually step back, going left.
Despite the barrage of criticism, Caitlyn Clark remained unaffected. Throughout her career, she had encountered skeptics and detractors who questioned her talents, and this was no exception. Rather than confronting her critics, Clark let her on-court performance speak for itself. Clark proceeded to put up impressive statistics in the games after her MVP triumph, demonstrating that she was well deserving of the honor. Her ability to rise above the hostility and stay focused on the game further cemented her place as one of the league's greatest players.
Yeah, I mean, Perk mentioned how she's learned from going into the film room, learned game from game. She equally learns within the game. On Friday, when they were playing against Vegas, she was held scoreless in the first half. What happened? She came out with some of that knowledge that she learned from that half in the previous game against Vegas and had 14 in the third quarter alone. She is just now playing at her pace, which, yes, is a very fast pace, but at the same time, the game has slowed down. We saw teams blitzing her like crazy early in the season. You can't do that anymore. She's playing today, to me.
Clark's calm and cool reaction to the controversy endeared her to admirers even more. While other players may have collapsed under the pressure of the criticism, Clark embraced it as inspiration to keep pushing herself to new heights. Her tenacity in the face of adversity became an important part of her story, demonstrating that genuine success requires not just ability, but also mental fortitude.
First lead for the Liberty that didn't last long, as Smith puts the Fever back on top. Indiana Fever.
And they need Smith in the game, and this is just a simple transition.
As the dust settled following the hoopla surrounding Caitlyn Clark's MVP victory, the WNBA found itself in a difficult situation. On the one hand, the publicity generated by Clark's triumph and the subsequent controversy served to increase the league's profile. On the other hand, some players' animosity and resentment threatened to split the league and create a poisonous environment that may stifle its development.
Caitlyn has dominated since the All-Star break. What's been the biggest change in her game that you've noticed?
Chennedy, it took her about a month to figure things out, but since about the end of June, she's been playing like a top 5 player in the league. She's been regularly dishing out double-digit assists in that time frame. Teams can no longer blitz her and trap her.
Players, commentators, and fans were left to consider the ramifications of Clark's ascension to the top. Will the league be able to overcome envy and welcome a new age of talent? Or will Clark's success exacerbate the divides, preventing the league from realizing its full potential? The answers to these questions could have been clearer. However, one thing was certain: Caitlyn Clark had shattered the mold, and the WNBA would never be the same after. Whether her detractors liked it or not, Clark's domination pushed the league to address its fears and figure out how to proceed in the face of such overwhelming talent.
Had another monster game. She had 28 points, 12 assists, and a 193 win over the Dallas Wings today that pushed the Indiana Fever over 500 for the first time in 5 years.
Looking forward, it's evident that Caitlyn Clark's career is just beginning. Her contentious MVP triumph is merely the start of what looks to be a long and successful career in the WNBA. As she continues to set records and exceed expectations, her naysayers will definitely have to accept her position in the league. The future is less assured for the WNBA as a whole. The league must find a way to balance the growth of emerging stars like Clark and the respect and recognition that experienced players deserve. While competition and rivalries are normal parts of sports, the animosity and jealousy that have emerged in response to Clark's success threaten to stymie the league's growth. The WNBA can see this as a watershed moment, a chance to enhance the sport by highlighting the extraordinary skill of girls like Caitlyn Clark. However, in order to do so, the league must first address the underlying conflicts that surfaced as a result of her MVP victory. Only then can the WNBA genuinely prosper in the years ahead.
Your own building against you. Griner has it come off. Clark with the pull. Boston with a nice rim run.
Finally, Caitlyn Clark's MVP triumph revealed WNBA's fault lines and spurred a discussion that extends beyond basketball. While her detractors may continue to doubt her achievements, there is no disputing that Clark has permanently altered the league. The issue now is whether the WNBA can meet the challenge and embrace the new age that Caitlyn Clark symbolizes. Caitlyn Clark, the exceptional Iowa Hawkeyes basketball player, has shown to be a formidable opponent on the floor. Her incredible performances have captivated viewers, making her one of the most talked about players in college basketball today. Clark's extraordinary scoring ability, leadership, and unmistakable brilliance have captivated both sports fans and pundits. However, she recently became the focus of a different type of attention, not because of her on-court exploits, but because of comments made about her by ESPN's Molly Qerim.
Clark over Horston, hits a three!
In a world where athletes are constantly scrutinized, Caitlyn Clark's name came up in a heated debate that eventually led to ESPN's decision to terminate Molly Qerim. The episode has aroused significant controversy, with sports fans, commentators, and critics commenting on both Qerim's statements and Clark's meteoric ascent to fame. As we investigate this surprising turn of events, it is critical to consider Caitlyn Clark's effect on women's basketball, the context of the statements that led to Qerim's firing, and the broader ramifications for sports journalism today.
I could actually argue that it hurts the game more if they had given her a roster spot over someone more deserving.
So go ahead and argue.
That's exactly.
Before delving into the topic, it's important to understand who Caitlyn Clark is and why she's become such an influential person in women's sports. Caitlyn Clark's collegiate basketball career has been nothing short of spectacular. As a prominent Iowa Hawkeyes player, she has constantly provided awe-inspiring performances, often carrying her team on her back with amazing scoring ability, vision, and a dogged will to win.
But Cowan, who couldn't finish, behind the back again for Clark, give her another assist.
Clark, from Des Moines, Iowa, was already a household name in high school basketball, where she broke records and garnered national recognition. Her choice to remain home and play for Iowa signaled the start of a new era in women's collegiate basketball. Clark made it evident from the time she walked on the floor as a freshman that she was unique. Her ability to sink deep three-pointers, throw out precise assists, and lead her squad with toughness gained her respect around the league.
The turnover ratio in her career last season. Clark gets away with a little push, fall away, buries it. And a little reaction.
In only a few seasons, Clark went from a prospective recruit to a popular name, garnering comparisons to some of basketball's best players. She's been dubbed a once-in-a-generation talent, capable of transforming the game's landscape and propelling the popularity of women's sports to new heights. Fans have praised her court vision, flair for the theatrical, and ability to take over games, often in the clutch.
Clark working on Van Loo. Oh, Clark, pretty step back, hits a three. Got a little sip.
Her awards have continued to pile up, including All-American honors, scoring crowns, and national notoriety. Clark has been associated with success in women's college basketball, and her efforts have propelled Iowa far into tournaments, where she has frequently single-handedly led her team to victory. As Clark's popularity rose, so did the prominence of women's basketball, resulting in more media coverage and a larger fan base.
And now Clark comes up with a steal. Clark thought about pulling up from three, will tip inside and lay it in.
Caitlyn Clark's notoriety in the sports world is no surprise, since she has been a regular subject of discussion on sports broadcasts, such as ESPN's First Take. However, things took a dramatic turn when Molly Qerim, one of the show's co-hosts, made remarks that sparked a firestorm of outrage. During a section analyzing Clark's most recent performance, Qerim allegedly made statements that many saw as disparaging and contemptuous of Clark's achievements. While the statements seem innocuous on the surface, the manner in which they were delivered sparked outrage among fans and critics alike. Qerim reportedly said that Clark's style of play was showy, but lacked the substance required to excel at the top level of competition.
I think it makes a mockery of the women's game. If the focus on, now we just have to have people because of marketing and their attention, and they're not as talented.
The crowd did not favorably receive the statements. Fans of Caitlyn Clark turned to social media to vent their anger, accusing Qerim of disparaging Clark's accomplishments and downplaying her importance in the sport. What made the matter even more contentious was the timing. Clark had just given another outstanding performance, guiding her side to a huge win. Qerim's words in the aftermath further added to the fury. In today's hyper-connected world, when news and views move at breakneck speed, Qerim's remarks became viral. Social media sites such as Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok were inundated with comments condemning Qerim for what many saw as an unjustified and foolish assault on Clark. Hashtags like Shocker Support Caitlyn Clark and Fire Molly Qerim started trending, with fans urging ESPN to take action.
It wasn't that anybody didn't think she was going to be successful or not play. It was just that we felt that other players in the W deserve shine as well.
Prominent people in sports, including players, pundits, and analysts, have spoken out on the issue. Many people jumped to Caitlyn Clark's defense, praising her remarkable accomplishments and the wonderful influence she has made on women's basketball. Others questioned the larger implications of Qerim's words, claiming that female athletes are often held to higher standards and get more criticism than their male colleagues. The anger was not restricted to basketball enthusiasts. Advocates for women's sports and gender equality interpreted Qerim's remarks as symptomatic of a broader problem, the systematic undervaluation of women's athletic achievements. They said that statements like Qerim's foster the perception that women's sports are somehow inferior to men's despite athletes like Caitlyn Clark competing at unprecedented levels.
Molly, I said...
Really, Molly? Wow.
They jumped on us. They jumped on us, Molly. They jumped on us as a show.
As the outcry grew, it became evident that this wasn't merely a slip of judgment. Qerim's remarks touched a deeper chord, addressing problems of gender, media portrayal, and the continuous struggle for recognition in women's sports. ESPN is no stranger to controversy, and the network has had its fair share of public relations issues over the years. However, the backlash over Qerim's remarks regarding Caitlyn Clark created a particularly difficult scenario for the sports media behemoth.
This team and spending time on the bench, what is the conversation going to be about the entire...
Initially, ESPN kept mute on the matter, maybe anticipating that the reaction would subside on its own. However, when the scandal escalated, the network was obliged to confront it publicly. In a short statement, ESPN recognized that the statements made on First Take had offended viewers and promised them that the problem was being taken seriously. Behind the scenes, it was evident that ESPN was facing a tough choice. On the one hand, Qerim was a well-known character on the network, having co-hosted the show First Take with Stephen A. Smith and Max Kellerman. Firing a prominent figure like Qerim would not be handled lightly. On the other side, the network came under increasing pressure from fans and supporters of women's sports to hold Qerim responsible for her comments.
Eyeballs, the interest, the sizzle, the headlines were not there. No one cared. The public didn't.
Finally, ESPN chose to cut ways with Molly Qerim. In a subsequent statement, the network reaffirmed its commitment to creating an open and respectful workplace for all athletes, including women. While the decision to terminate Qerim elicited varied responses, it highlighted the rising significance of responsibility in sports media, especially with the treatment of female athletes. The aftermath of Molly Qerim's termination has sparked a broader debate about media responsibility and the treatment of female athletes in the sports world. The episode demonstrates the power dynamics at work in sports media and raises serious concerns about how athletes, especially women, are depicted and discussed.
Excuse me? You deserved it all. Molly, can I speak to Andre?
Yeah.
Can I speak to Andre right now? Don't interrupt.
One of the most obvious concerns that this scandal has highlighted is the discrepancy in how male and female the media regard athletes. While male athletes are often complimented for their confidence, swagger, and aggressiveness on the court, female competitors, such as Caitlyn Clark, are sometimes chastised for exhibiting similar characteristics. This double standard reflects strongly held social ideas regarding gender and competitiveness, and it continues to influence how women in sports are regarded and assessed.
Wheeler finds Clark from the logo.
Following Qerim's dismissal, many have called for a review of how media outlets cover women's sports. While female athletes have made considerable progress in terms of exposure and acknowledgement, situations like these serve as a reminder that more work is still to be done. The media has a significant influence on public views of athletes, and that power comes with the duty to deliver fair and courteous coverage. For Caitlyn Clark, the event has further cemented her place as a pioneer in women's basketball. Despite the criticism, she has stayed focused on her game, consistently delivering outstanding results and inspiring the next generation of athletes. Her tenacity in the face of media criticism is a great example for young athletes worldwide, demonstrating that on the court, achievement speaks louder than words.
They're already at 10. Look at the tie last year's winning record.
Clark from way downtown and knocks it down.
The dispute involving Molly Qerim and Caitlyn Clark is part of a larger discussion regarding the future of women's sports coverage. Women's sports are becoming more popular, and media sources must adjust to give more balanced coverage. This includes not just improving female athletes' exposure, but also ensuring that discussion and analysis of their performances are fair, impartial, and devoid of damaging preconceptions. The termination of Molly Qerim sends a strong message that rude or disparaging statements regarding female athletes will not be allowed. However, the problem going ahead is establishing a media climate in which female athletes are rewarded for their achievements without resorting to such extreme measures. In the middle of this media storm, Caitlyn Clark has continued to do what she does best: play top basketball. Her rise from high school wonder to college superstar has been nothing short of incredible, and she shows no signs of slowing down. The Women's National Basketball Association, WNBA, has produced a slew of outstanding players throughout the years, but two stand out in recent memory: Caitlyn Clark and Kelsey Mitchell. Their paths, although different, have often crossed, with each making substantial contributions to women's basketball and the sport's general development. Clark and Mitchell have captivated fans with their on-court talent, and the history they have created together represents the WNBA's developing environment.
Wins all of last season. They're already at 10. Look at the tie last year's winning record.
Clark from way downtown.
Caitlyn Clark, a brilliant college basketball player, was making headlines even before she joined the WNBA. Her remarkable ascent has catapulted her into talks with the game's luminaries. Kelsey Mitchell, on the other side, has quickly established herself as one of the WNBA's top scorers after being drafted in 2018. These two players symbolize the league's present and future, and their journeys tell a unique story of grit, ability, and dedication.
Listen, I believed in her from day one. You knew that she would only get better and better. She's averaging 17.8 points this season, 41.
In this video, we will examine the connected histories of Caitlyn Clark and Kelsey Mitchell, including their upbringing, early careers, and how they influenced and continue to develop the WNBA. We will also examine their playing styles, achievements, and impact both on and off the court.
Clark off the switch, found Smith, who laid it.
Caitlyn Clark, born in West Des Moines, Iowa, has swiftly established herself as one of the country's most promising basketball players. Clark has had an unusual ability to score from wherever on the floor since he was little. Her high school career was nothing short of remarkable, as she established multiple records and received numerous awards. She was a high school All-American, and her choice to join the University of Iowa benefited both her and the program. During her college career, Clark's name became associated with explosive playmaking, long-range shooting, and a ferocious competitive spirit. Her ability to command the floor and push her team to success was shown when she led the Iowa Hawkeyes to new heights in the NCAA tournament. Clark's unwavering pursuit of perfection, along with her basketball IQ, elevated her to the ranks of women's collegiate basketball's most prominent players.
As Bonner can't hit, Fag-Benley the rebound. Here comes Clark, bouncing to Fag-Benley, who lays it in!
Clark was already being compared to some of the finest players in the WNBA before going pro, and her ability to have a huge effect on the league was obvious. She was seen not just as a potential WNBA player, but also as someone whose unique skill set may transform the game. Kelsey Mitchell, born in Cincinnati, Ohio, had a somewhat different road to basketball greatness. Mitchell's basketball career started in high school, where she polished her abilities before attending Ohio State University. Mitchell became one of the most prolific scorers in NCAA history while at Ohio State, establishing records for both her shooting ability and on-court leadership. Her accomplishments earned her a berth in the 2018 WNBA draft, when she was taken second overall by the Indiana Fever.
Minnesota bouncing back on top. Kelsey Mitchell also heating up in the second half.
The high arcing from Kelsey Mitchell.
Mitchell's move to the WNBA was simple, and she rapidly established herself in the league. Her scoring talent, especially from beyond the arc, gave her a nightmare for opponents, and she emerged as one of the Indiana Fever's primary offensive weapons. Mitchell's skill has improved over the years, and she is now one of the league's most consistent scorers. While Clark was still making an impact in college, Mitchell had already established herself as one of the best players in the WNBA, demonstrating that her collegiate success could be translated to the professional level.
Steve 9, 5:13 left in regulation. Mitchell tries to answer with a long-range jumper of her own.
Caitlyn Clark's game is typified by her ability to score from any position on the floor. She possesses long range, allowing her to make three-pointers from many feet beyond the arc, similar to NBA stars such as Stephen Curry and Damian Lillard. But Clark is much more than simply a shooter. She is a superb playmaker, often setting up her teammates for easy baskets with precision passing and excellent court vision.
Comes Caitlyn. Get it!
Clark's basketball IQ stands out among many other players. She is a game student who consistently makes the correct judgments and is seldom shaken by high-stakes scenarios. Clark has shown to be one of the most versatile players in recent memory, whether she is creating space for a shot, driving to the basket, or providing an assist. Clark is also a formidable defensive player. She uses her length and quickness to block passing lanes, and her competitive drive keeps her focused on both ends of the floor. Her total flexibility makes her a player who can influence the game in a variety of ways, which is one of the reasons she was so successful in college and is anticipated to succeed in the WNBA. Kelsey Mitchell, on the other hand, is well known for her scoring skills. Throughout her collegiate and WNBA careers, she was one of the most dangerous offensive players in the league. Mitchell's fast release and ability to build her shot make her an ongoing danger to opposition defenses. Her three-point shooting is exceptional, and she can pull up from anywhere on the floor.
Have you seen how Caitlyn Clark has been generating news across all sports media platforms recently? If you haven't seen him, you're missing out on one of the most entertaining basketball players of all time. Caitlyn Clark has taken the sports world by storm, becoming a household name for skill, confidence, and game-changing performances. What began as a rising star in the collegiate basketball scene has swiftly evolved into a legend who is transforming the way we think about women's basketball, and she has now managed to humble ESPN journalists in a manner that no one expected.
Power block by Boston. Here comes Caitlyn.
For years, ESPN and other sports publications have been chastised for underrepresenting women's sports, notably their coverage of the WNBA. However, Caitlyn Clark has not only changed the narrative around women's basketball, but she has also pushed the media to sit up and pay notes in a manner they have never done before. With her on-court domination, fearless demeanor, and large fan following, she has embarrassed big media outlets, pushing them to see the grandeur of women's basketball that they previously disregarded. In doing so, she has propelled the WNBA to a level of notoriety that will permanently change the landscape.
And that's the way to push the ball in transition. Oh, that's not gonna waste much time. Caitlyn Clark has...
Prior to Caitlyn Clark's rise to popularity, the media, especially ESPN, mostly overlooked women's basketball. Their coverage of the WNBA was often scant and limited to off-peak hours, while in-depth analysis and big promotional efforts were mostly kept for men's sports. This neglect was especially evident when it came to players like Clark, whose extraordinary performances and numbers would have made headlines if they had occurred in the men's game. ESPN has an opportunity to get ahead of the curve by seeing Clark's potential early on. Her collegiate accomplishments were nothing short of spectacular, with her ability to score from any position on the floor, her passing range, and her basketball IQ garnering her comparisons to NBA great. However, the conventional sports media was reluctant to respond, often focusing on other issues and downplaying Clark's pioneering achievements.
Game attendance and per-game TV viewership. But despite the attendance and viewership records, there seems to be some haterade in the league.
As Clark's impact expanded, it became clear that she was not receiving the press she deserved. Fans of the game started to wonder why one of the most entertaining players in basketball, male or female, was not getting the respect she plainly deserved. As a consequence, ESPN found itself playing catch-up, attempting to reclaim trust with basketball fans who had already made Caitlyn Clark a household name. Caitlyn Clark's ascent to popularity started long before the media welcomed her. She dominated college basketball, guiding her team to stunning feats that often left spectators and experts stunned. Clark became a highlight machine thanks to her 40-point performances, ability to shoot from deep, and remarkable talent for finding teammates with beautiful passes.
What's different about winning this a second time?
I think it's a little different. I think the biggest thing for myself is like this is my senior year. It's
her efforts in the NCAA women's basketball tournament were especially memorable, and it was during these high-stakes games that she fully established herself on a national scale. Clark led the Iowa Hawkeyes far into the tournament, putting up stat lines to match even the finest male athletes. Her aggressive approach to the game, pulling up for shots from far beyond the arc, facing multiple defenders, and producing clutch plays in crunch time, became the focus of the basketball world. Despite the media's slow response, fans were already deeply immersed in Clark's story. Social media became the forum for sharing, dissecting, and admiring her achievements. Videos of her performances went viral, with supporters praising her great skill while lamenting the lack of media attention she was getting.
WNBA Player of the Week. Surprise, surprise. Indiana Fever rookie sensation, Caitlyn Clark. It's nothing really.
It all came to a head when Caitlyn Clark's name became too prominent to ignore. During her most recent season, Clark delivered a streak of memorable performances. She broke records, guided her team to spectacular triumphs, and secured her legacy as one of the sport's finest players. However, ESPN, which was reluctant to recognize her full significance, continued to understate her accomplishments in their reporting.
Notched the first triple-double ever by a WNBA rookie and the first in Fever franchise history.
This all changed when Clark's fans and the rest of the basketball community decided to take action. The disparity between her performances and the media's lackluster coverage reached a critical point. Fans flooded social media with footage of Clark's highlights, criticizing ESPN for neglecting to give her the recognition she deserved. It became evident that conventional media outlets were out of touch with the basketball community, and ESPN found itself on the losing end of the argument. ESPN's humiliation came when Clark produced a game so dominating that ignoring it became impossible. After another outstanding performance in a nationally broadcast game, ESPN had no option but to give Clark the recognition she had long deserved. However, it was too late. The basketball world was already beyond them, and ESPN's effort to catch up seemed forced and fake.
Can you believe that? It's hard to believe. Well, this is where we land. To Chicago Sky down in 7th place, Indiana Fever.
Caitlyn Clark's influence went beyond insulting the media. It also altered the course of the WNBA. Historically, the WNBA has failed to attract the same amount of media attention and fan enthusiasm as its male counterpart, the NBA. This lack of attention created a vicious cycle in which the league was unable to increase its fan base, and the media defended the lack of coverage by citing poor ratings. Clark's ascension has given the WNBA fresh vigor, not only because of her skill, but also because of how she has engaged fans. The media, obliged to recognize her brilliance, began to pay greater attention to the WNBA, and as a result, fans began to pay closer attention to the league as well. Clark's popularity grew, and more people tuned in to see her play, whether as a final-year college student or a prospective WNBA star.
You know, it doesn't happen without them. It doesn't happen without the amazing coaches. And, you know, to kind of end my career in this note and hopefully winning a national title would be perfect.
ESPN and other sites, seeing their error in underestimating Clark's power, started to enhance their WNBA coverage, focusing on the league's stars in ways they hadn't before. This change in focus is creating opportunities for other outstanding players in the WNBA, giving them the recognition they deserve and helping to expand the league. Caitlyn Clark's presence has altered not just the media's perception of women's basketball, but also how other WNBA players are seen. Clark's leadership has had a knock-on effect, with media outlets now covering other league players more extensively. Players like Aja Wilson, Brianna Stewart, and Sabrina Ionescu are profiting from the increasing attention as the media recognizes the WNBA's potential as a major sports organization.
45 blocks last year. Clark for three. Clark, they said she has redefined what a good shot is.
Clark's impact extends to the way the game is played. Her distinctive basketball style, fast-paced, long-range shooting, and high basketball IQ has inspired younger players who see her as a role model. Her confidence and talent on the court have redefined what it means to be a dominating player in women's basketball, and other players are beginning to mimic her approach. In doing so, she contributes to the evolution of the game and raises the standard of play across the league. Caitlyn Clark's ascension occurs at a time when the WNBA is poised for expansion. The league's viewership has steadily increased in recent years, and Clark's effect is just speeding up that trend. As more people tune in to see her play, the league is gaining a new generation of fans who are optimistic about the future of women's basketball.
Honestly, I have no idea. I was just trying to get to the handshake line and shake hands and, you know, be grateful that my team was in that position.
This increase in popularity also results in financial growth. With increased media and fan interest, the WNBA's sponsorship and broadcast contracts are growing more valuable. Brands who were previously reluctant to invest in women's basketball are now recognizing opportunities for expansion, which is helping to raise the league's image. Caitlyn Clark's impact will continue to be an important part of the WNBA narrative as it grows. Her ability to captivate fans and command media attention is changing the league's perception, and her sustained success will further strengthen the WNBA's position in the mainstream sports world. Caitlyn Clark hasn't simply embarrassed ESPN, she's revolutionized the game. Her ascent to prominence has caused the media to reconsider how it covers women's sports, and as a result, the WNBA has received unprecedented attention. Her impact not only helps the league expand, but also inspires the next generation of basketball players. Clark's impact will be recognized not just for her extraordinary skill, but also for shifting the debate around women's basketball. By demanding the credit she deserves, she has created opportunities for other players and helped propel the sport to new heights. Caitlyn Clark's effect has contributed significantly to the WNBA's continued popularity. She has shown that women's basketball is just as interesting, competitive, and deserving of attention as any other sport, permanently altering the landscape of the WNBA. The league's future looks better than ever, and Caitlyn Clark is leading the way. The WNBA has always been very competitive, with players putting their heart and soul into every game. But lately, the discussion surrounding the MVP award has reached a fever pitch. Aja Wilson, one of the WNBA's brightest talents, went off on what she sees as a tremendous injustice in the MVP race: Caitlyn Clark's rejection of the prize title. What followed was nothing short of explosive, as Aja Wilson launched a rage, sending shockwaves across the WNBA and its fandom.
Kelsey Plum playing Caitlyn Clark, no catch, meaning she's not trying to let her get it back.
In this video, we'll explore the events that occurred, including why Aja Wilson lost her cool and the drama surrounding Caitlyn Clark's rejection. So brace up as we discuss what may be one of the most dramatic moments in WNBA history. To understand why Aja Wilson's response was so strong, we must first accept her role in the WNBA. Since being selected as the first overall choice by the Las Vegas Aces in 2018, Aja has been nothing short of exceptional. Her aggressive playing style, ability to dominate in the paint, and leadership characteristics have earned her a household name. Wilson, a two-time MVP and Olympic gold medalist, has constantly been in contention for the league's top honors. Wilson's intense competition and constant desire for achievement distinguish her as a great athlete. However, they also led to her angry response to Caitlyn Clark's elimination from the MVP contest. Wilson's aggravation spilled out in a spectacular fashion as he understood the pressure and grandeur of winning the MVP award.
Indiana Fever rookie sensation, Caitlyn Clark. It's nothing really to say other than that. She's winning Rookie of the Year. She's a top candidate for league MVP honors. She ain't beating Aja Wilson for the MVP.
Caitlyn Clark, on the other hand, has been surging to the forefront of the WNBA discourse. Clark was drafted by the Indiana Fever and joined the league with lofty hopes, and she has not disappointed. Caitlyn Clark, known for her exceptional shooting range, court awareness, and ability to score from nearly anywhere, has made a significant impact in her first season. Many fans and commentators anticipated her not only to win Rookie of the Year, but also to be a strong contender for MVP.
A little step-up action right here.
Austin gets it back to Clark, sidesteps Howard. She will launch and knock down a three.
Clark's ability to perform well under pressure distinguishes her from other athletes. Whether it's hitting three-pointers from beyond the arc or providing clutch assists, she's constantly shown she can carry her team through the most difficult games. Despite this, Caitlyn Clark's outstanding accomplishments did not transfer into MVP accolades this season, which has prompted great criticism, particularly among players such as Aja Wilson.
The WNBA, she's just the fourth player to shoot at least 70% from three-point range on at least 20 three-point attempts.
The WNBA MVP award is one of the most coveted in the league. The award is given to the player regarded most important to their team's success, which is frequently determined by a mix of individual numbers, team performance, and on-court leadership. This year, however, the battle for MVP got acrimonious, with players, fans, and pundits all disputing who should win the title.
Caitlyn Clark. It's nothing really to say other than that. She's winning Rookie of the Year. She's a top candidate for league MVP honors. She ain't beating Aja Wilson for the MVP, but she's beating Angel Reese for the Rookie of the Year. That's a wrap. That's over. And props to Angel Reese, who's had a good year, by the way. Quick hitter number 3 goes to Chicago Sky rookie forward Angel Reese.
Aja Wilson was once again in contention for MVP following another outstanding season. However, many believe that Caitlyn Clark, despite being a rookie, had played at an MVP caliber level, making her a viable contender for the title.
And that's what the worst of cynics and critics do. And so you knew they were going to come for you. You had to know that. Now, to the degree that they're doing so, I get where you're coming from. I get where you're coming from. But keep your spirits up, because you're at a decisive advantage, Angel Reese. You're at a decisive advantage because they made the mistake of letting you know who they are, whoever those people are. And now you have perfect justification for keeping people at bay and not letting people too close where they could potentially hurt you. It's something most people usually learn when they get older. You learned it younger, which is a beautiful, beautiful thing.